So I have a few rants to get out, and I didn't intend on doing this one, but this just happened today, and I had to talk about it. Just to show just some of the bullshit that you gotta go through sometimes for having a vagina. So I was on a live stream today. We were talking Falcon and Winter Soldier stuff and everything. And this guy comments on the live stream and he's like, her understanding of comic books is bullshit, but I love her stuff anyway. And I used to let those, and I usually let comments go, but every once in a while I'll pick a comment and I'll be like, it'll be so like, so backhanded that I'll be like, oh, what did you mean by that? Especially the ones that are like, oh, you're pretty for a black girl. I'll be like, what did you mean by that? And so I asked this motherfucker, what do you mean by that? Can you please explain that? My understanding of comics is bullshit. And a whole bunch of people joined because it was obvious that shit was about to go down, right? Because this happens at least once a week, at least once every few weeks. Somebody says something stupid, and then I make them expound on what the fuck they were saying, and they either run away or it gets even worse. And in this case, it got even worse. And so he just kept, and then he kept on saying, he's like, what are you talking about? I gave you a compliment. I'm like, bitch, you gave me a backhanded fucking compliment, and then you're gonna come at me and try to gaslight me by saying, like, oh, that was actually a compliment. I'm like, no, you insulted my intelligence in the same sentence that you decided to put at the end, but I love her work. Whatever. No, 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 no. I'm not stupid. We're not gonna just run past that, sir. What do you have to say? Please tell me. What do you mean my understanding of comic books is BS? I want to know. I want to know. I want to know how you have arrived to that conclusion or something. He kept dancing around the point. I'm like, none of these answers that you're giving, like Superman is the only superhero that you should really be, I don't know, worried about. I don't know. It was just a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, and everybody on the chat was like, what are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? And he just kept saying it over and over. He's like, you just don't understand anything about the comics. I'm like, bro, I hear you. Expound on what you're trying to fucking say. And eventually I realized that wasn't going to go anywhere. And so I just addressed the rest of the people and in the chat. And I was like, well, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens. This is what happens when a man tries to mansplain, or they've been saying shit like this to us for a long time, right? For years. And we as women, especially women of color, have been trained to just not say anything, to not make these men angry, right? To just be docile, to just be like, and just let it go. But you know what, guys? Like, after everything that I have been through, I am so fucking over letting things go. I am so fucking over it. I have the time to be petty. And so that's why I push them to explain it when they say these fucked up things. And the reality is, so many of these people, mostly men, say shit. Don't expect women to talk back because they know that we've been trained to not talk back. So that when we do talk back, they are shooketh. Because the problem is, they thought that they could just shoot that grenade and not have anything come back, and now they have no explanation prepared because the reality is that it wasn't a comment that was made in any sort of intellect with anything behind it. It was literally just there to take a shot, right? And so, of course, you don't have any response prepared because all you were prepared to do was shoot an offend, like a mean comment or an underhanded compliment, whatever you want to call it, and not get anything back. And so I'm saying all this because I'm like, I'm not even entertaining this dude. And then he basically sends a comment and says something to the effect of, I got these 8 inches under this belt to slap that smart mouth. So basically, threatened to slap me in the face with his dick because he was mad because I asked him to explain something very rude that he said to me. He refused. I turned my attention away, and that resulted in him resorting to verbal violence. And don't worry, so many people reported him. I'm pretty sure that account just does not exist anymore. I'm pretty sure. But that was pretty terrifying. It just like, and that's like the level, that's the level of violence that we risk as women all the time in different circles, even obviously nerd circles, in fandoms, because we're speaking out, guys. Like, we're not being quiet and ladylike anymore. We're over that shit. I sure the fuck am. We are fucking over that shit. And a lot of these men can't get with the times. And unfortunately, a lot of that leads to verbal or actual violence. Like, there was a woman in Brooklyn last year who a guy was trying to ask her out. She declined. And so he shot her and killed her. Shot and killed her. And this is how fucking dangerous toxic masculinity can be. Because that was threatening sexual fucking violence. All over what? All over a potential discussion about comics, because you didn't have a response ready for when I asked you to explain a very weird, rude, backhanded compliment that you decided to give me. And that, like I said, it was disgusting. And unfortunately, there are not many women that haven't been sexually harassed, and there are many women that have been sexually assaulted, and that hits us pretty hard. And I think these men know that, because that, and you know, I think a lot of us have been seeing a lot of rhetoric lately. I know the Conscious Lee has been debating, or like basically breaking down some of these men who are like, you gotta submit to me and everything. Black men, mostly to black women, you gotta submit to me. If I were there, I could make you submit. It's really terrifying that when it comes down to it, when our intellect can't be matched, or when they have nothing intelligent to say, they use sex as a weapon. They use assault as a weapon. Brute force. They result to, well, I can't match you on this level, so you know what? I'm going to threaten to slap you in the face with my dick. And even though this happened online in the chat room, on my live stream, this is very real. This is a very real danger that we face all the fucking time. It's a thought that goes through our head every time we consider talking back to anybody that catcalls us on the street. Like, or just anything. And it's fucking ridiculous. So ladies, like I said, be prepared. Be strapped if you need to. Protect yourself. And men out there that have not adjusted to this, we're speaking out. You better start trying to match us in intelligence. You don't get to make the rules just because you have a dick anymore. Your dick is no longer a conversation ender or a debate winner, okay? And best believe that if you try to use it as one, like this motherfucker did, you will face some consequences, for sure. Because if there is a way to find out who the fuck that is and do more, I definitely probably will. But this is the kind of shit that we face all the time. All the time. And it's definitely, and I feel like it's coming from frustration, because we are talking back now. We're talking back. And a lot of these men are not used to us talking back. They're used to us letting it slide. Knowing that we're uncomfortable, but letting it slide. That age is over. It's definitely the fuck over for me. Definitely the fuck over for me. And so I thought that was a very just lightly traumatizing this morning. But it's something worth talking about. How that rage at not being able to answer my simple fucking question just defaulted to sexual violence or threat of sexual violence. Incredible. Incredible. Men, start stepping up and be prepared for us to talk back, because we talking back. And stop relying on your dick as your only source of power. and as an avenue or an excuse to exact sexual violence, verbal, physical, otherwise, on women. And if that bothers you, I think it's because you know that you just could never match up to us intellectually in the first place. You probably knew that the whole time, but now it's being proved.